Horses are big and powerful animals, as anyone with eyes can see. But they also have an interesting way about them that not many people realize. It takes a few select group of people to not only ride these creatures, but understand them as well. In order to understand the different disciplines of horseback riding, we need to take a quick look at the way horses move. Horses have 4 different gaits. They have the walk, the trot, the canter, and the gallop. The walk is pretty self-explanatory, but the trot is a 2-beat gait where the opposite front foot and hind foot meet the ground at the same time. The canter is a 3-beat gait where the hind foot hits the ground first, then followed by the other hind foot and front foot, and finishing with the final front foot. The gallop is a 4-beat gait where at some point there is no foot touching the ground at all. Obviously, this is the fastest of the 4 gaits. When it comes to a canter or a gallop, the horse is a certain lead. Their lead depends on which front foot reaches the ground last. For example, this horse here would be in the left lead because their left front foot is leading. Meanwhile, this horse here would be on the right lead because their right front foot is leading. Sometimes horses' front leads and hind leads don't always match up because a horse does not pick up the canter or gallop on the same lead for both ends. This is known as cross-cantering, which can clearly be seen here. A flying change is where the horse switches leads without a step of trotting in between. This can make the horse appear as if he is skipping a step. Here is my horse and I zoomed up and slowed down so you can clearly see the lead change. A flying change is a key element in almost any discipline. It can help shave off time in events judged by a clock, or it can look elegant in events where looks are a factor. Many people know what the term horseback riding is, but they don't know the many subgroups. The 2 different groups, generally speaking, are English and Western. In any English riding, a rider will be sporting an English saddle. In any Western riding, a rider will be sporting a Western saddle. With these 2 general groups, it breaks down into several subgroups. One of the largest growing forms of English riding is known as eventing. Eventing is a 3-day-long show that consists of dressage, stadium jumping, and cross-country. Pretty much the only thing they all have in common is that they all have to follow a specific pattern. Dressage is a test that a rider perform a pattern of walking, trotting, and cantering directed by letters on the wall as well as diagonals. The riders are then given a score based on how well they executed the test and how happy and sharp the horse looked while doing it. The score is totaled up from the individual scores of 3 judges. It is one of the prettiest forms of riding. Stadium jumping is where the rider must direct their horse over a series of jumps in a certain pattern. These jumps are set up so that if a horse happens to knock them, the pole or jump itself will collapse. Riders are given penalties for any fallen poles. Cross-country is by far one of the most dangerous parts of eventing. Unlike stadium jumping, the jumps are solid so that if your horse happens to knock it, your horse will fall instead of the jump. Also, unlike stadium jumping that is held inside an arena, cross-country is held on anywhere from a few acres to a mass amount of acres of open land. So if you happen to fall off your horse, it'll take quite a bit of time to catch them. Switching gears from English to Western riding, there is a discipline known as gymkhana. Gymkhana is a series of events where winners are separated by only hundredths of a second. In any of these events, strategy and quick thinking are key in shaving off precious seconds. One of the events is known as keyhole. Keyhole was given its name due to its shape. At the end of the arena, there is a figure in the shape of a key, and the rider must run down, turn around in the key, and run back. If the horse steps even 1 foot out of the key, then they are disqualified. Another event is known as plug race. Plug race is pretty similar to keyhole besides the fact that there is no key. At the end of the arena, there is a barrel. The rider must again run down to the end of the arena, go around the barrel, and run back. If the barrel is knocked over, the rider is either given a time penalty or is disqualified. In this clip, my horse was slow going in and then made a wide turn going around the barrel, causing us to lose time. One of the most popular events in Gymkhana is known as barrel racing. Barrel racing consists of 3 barrels, 2 on the opposite sides of the arena about midway down, as well as 1 at the end of the arena in between the 2. The pattern is in the form of a clover. The rider may start towards the right or the left depending on which side the horse bends to better. Then they must cross over and go around the opposite barrel and finish with the final barrel and run home. While approaching each barrel, the rider must find a good pocket. A pocket is the distance away from the barrel needed to make a well-rounded circle around the barrel, making the circle crisp, tight, and clean. If a person knocks a barrel over, they are given a time penalty. In this clip, my horse wanted to get back to his buddies, so it was difficult to push him over, but we worked through it and managed to have a clean run. The event known as flags has the same setup as barrels, but not the same pattern. The barrels are set up in the same form, but the 2 side barrels have buckets on top of them, usually filled with sand or corn, so it is easier for the flag to stick. The whole point is to take the flag and stick it in the opposite bucket. The rider may choose whether they want the flag to start in the bucket to the left or the bucket to the right, but the pattern is basically a big U. If the rider does not grab the flag and breaks pattern by circling back, then they are normally disqualified. If they miss the bucket to stick it in, then they are normally given a time penalty, if not disqualified. While this rider here had a bit of difficulty getting the flag, she did not break pattern and managed to be able to stick it. One of the most difficult events in Gymkhana is known as pole bending. The rider must maintain control of their horse while running down to the end of 6 poles, weaving back again, and then running home. The biggest aspect that makes this event most challenging is making the tight turns around the end poles without knocking them over. Any knocked poles results in a time penalty. In the case of this rider here, her horse thought she was done after weaving, causing her to lose time, but she made a good recovery and managed to have a clean run. This next video is one of my favorite videos because it demonstrates what good training and a horse that loves its job can do. Note the missing rider. Slowing the speed down a bit, there is another Western discipline that is not part of Gymkhana. It is known as Western Pleasure. Western Pleasure winners are decided by a judge and not by a clock. The horse should be moving at a much slower and relaxed pace than any other discipline. They should also have a fairly low headset as well as be on a looser rein. Their gaits consist of a walk, a jog, and a lope. A jog is just a slower version of a trot, while a lope is just a slower version of a canter. Whether you know about horses or not, horseback riding is a dangerous sport that requires a high level of skill, balance, dedication, perseverance, and determination. It is full of ups and downs, and is definitely not for the weak-hearted. I have had my leg stepped on after a fall, causing a permanent damage, gained 13 stitches in my hand from falling into a fence, been trampled, and seen my life flash before my eyes countless times. While it's been a painful and terrifying 13-year journey, through all of the different disciplines I've tried, I've enjoyed nearly all of them, and hope this opened the eyes of a few people of the sport known as horseback riding.